I think, well, first of all, AI for me as a marketer, it makes everything I do so efficient. It's like having a buddy, a copywriter, a dedicated content marketer, and all that, right? Like my workflow is just 10 times more efficient. But when I get asked the question that what does it mean for video editing, I really think that one thing that sticks out to me the most is it really lowers the entry of barrier for people that have never thought they could get into content creation or video editing. And I think even though as an industry as a whole, we are not quite there yet, but I think very soon, uh, video editing could be just for anyone. And what I mean by that is how AI just makes everything so much more efficient. But at the same time, it really takes out the long and lengthy learning curve for people to get into video editing.
Mike's got the hat, the AI kind. Unlocking power in business you'll find. Cut through the hype, explore the tech. Every week, new ideas to check. All 10 leads us on a digital quest. AI secrets he'll always invest. Tune in tight, don't miss a beat. Knowledge groove, keep you on your feet. Listen up to the AI flow. Business growth, here we go. Cutting edge insights, that's the plan. With the AI hat, you'll understand.
Greetings, program. Welcome back to the AI Hat podcast, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at harnessing the power of AI across all areas of business, from streamlining operations and boosting productivity to gaining a competitive edge and driving explosive growth. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Listen, have you ever looked at a competitor's polished video content and thought, we could never afford to produce something like that? Here's the thing, that assumption is probably wrong. The rules of video marketing have completely changed. While big brands used to dominate with expensive production crews and six-figure budgets, artificial intelligence has leveled the playing field. But there's a problem. Most business leaders don't realize just how accessible professional video creation has become, or they're overwhelmed by the technology. And that's why I'm excited to have Eric Liu joining us today. Eric is a video marketing innovator at Wondershare Technology, where he's helped shape the future of AI powered content creation. He's been instrumental in developing Filmora 14, a next generation AI video editing tool that's transforming how businesses approach video marketing, and his work has helped countless organizations move from basic video content to professional grade productions without breaking the bank or requiring a degree in video editing. Hey, Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Mike. It's really my pleasure to be here. I've watched so many of your past podcasts and past shows, and I think there have been lots of good insights that I got from these videos. So, being here, I hope I can bring something to the table as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I know you will. You're going to bring a lot of information and insights in this. But before we dive into AI tools, what do you think is driving this kind of urgent need for businesses to create more video content?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I guess, at the time of this recording, which is in January 2025, we can all agree that video content is definitely the most popular form of content that people love to consume nowadays. And if we talk about some stats wise, I think I've come across studies and articles that claim over 80% by now of internet traffic are video related. And if we look at just from a subjective point of view, I guess video content is just something that's so much more palatable, like compared to static images. Information retention tends to be better. And if we think about a more recent event, just about 2 weeks ago, TikTok was actually banned for half a day until President Trump brought it back with his executive order. And this really goes to show just how much video content and video platforms are so deeply rooted in the lives of the people, not just the Americans, but people around the world. And we see that when TikTok was about to get banned, there was such great measures taken to prevent it from going offline, like people across the states protesting, and until the president himself had to get involved. So we see all of these things, these measures being taken. And yeah, not just, I guess that also brings to another point, which is it's not just video content that's particularly popular, it's also short form content that's very much on the rise, or is the one of the most popular type of content that people like to watch and consume. I guess people just love the snappier, the humor that tends to come with these videos. All in all, I think businesses nowadays really have to, and marketers really have to adapt to this changing behavior in terms of content consumption if they want to market their brand and their products.
That's absolutely right. When it comes specifically to social platforms, consumers aren't opening TikTok to watch a 5-minute video on how to change a tire or do something else. They're opening TikTok to be entertained. They're opening Instagram Reels to be entertained. And so it's clear that the short, punchy, to your point, entertaining videos are what's gonna perform best. Certainly, there's a place for long form video content, but that's really not on TikTok or Reels. That tends to be YouTube, where people are searching for how to do certain things. And one thing I also think that is really clear is that we as humans, we relate better to video than any other kind of communication platform because with video, you get to see the individual. Yes, there's an argument to be made for headless video and that faceless video and that sort of thing. But when you can watch a video with Eric showing you how to use a particular video editing tool, not only are you learning step by step what to do, you get to see Eric's face. You get to hear his tone of voice and see his facial expressions and body movements. And that empowers us to trust that video producer quite a bit more. So I think all those factors are combining to create just a huge necessity, not just demand, but a necessity for businesses to actually start doing more and more with video. But what do you think some of the misconceptions that businesses and marketers in particular have about creating like highly effective video or high quality videos? I think a lot of the folks even listening to us right now might be thinking, I don't have what it takes, or I don't have the Adidas budget or something like that to create video. What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. To your point, that I think having a video form of content, especially having someone's presence in it, that human touch is just hard to find in anything else. But in terms of misconceptions, there are a lot that come to mind. But one that came to my mind immediately, and also you mentioned it, is when marketers or businesses they put out video content, they might think that a single type of video can serve all purposes or it can work for all platforms, say specifically social media platforms. Like I just film one type of video and I put it on IG, TikTok, and even YouTube. And while it might kind of work, but if you want to optimize it to its best potential, it's still very important to remember that these platforms are still a little bit different in nature in the sense that, for example, IG is more lifestyle, fashion driven, whereas TikTok is more humor, dance. So there's still that difference, even though they both natively support vertical 9 by 16 videos. And of course, in comparison to YouTube, right? Like you mentioned, a 5-minute tutorial on how to change your tire does really well on YouTube, but it would just not fly on IG and TikTok. So we still got to remember that these platforms, by nature, the audiences on there, the type of content they expect, and even the algorithm that's built into these platforms, they serve different types of content. And yeah, like another example that I can think of is if you were to boost ads, you can't just take a 5-minute video and simply show the first 5 seconds of it because people, if you don't carefully craft that first 5 seconds, people will click away because they'll recognize that as an ad. And if you don't deliver the necessary information to hook them or to keep them watching, that ad literally will not be effective. So that's one thing that I can think of. Another thing that's very, very common, and you've obviously mentioned as well, is that high production value is always necessary to basically do video marketing. And I think that's not necessarily true. Well, it is true that having a professional team, having a well put set, lighting, equipment, and all that, the video quality obviously as a result of that will be exceptional. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that that's the only type of video that's going to be effective in driving your video marketing objectives. I want to use an example, which is Duolingo. I'm sure you've heard a platform that's gone viral, a learning platform that's gone viral, which normally you wouldn't think
Right.
you wouldn't associate that, right? Virality with a language learning platform. But Duolingo with its mascot, the owl, and a very creative yet genuine viral social media marketing strategy from, I think, a 23-year-old fresh grad that entered the company just several years ago. She was able to bring her, I guess, the company's social media account following from almost zero to over 10 million per platform. And I work at Wondershare Filmora, and I know that the tears and the sweat that went into our own accounts. We went from 0 to 150K followers. So looking at her achievement, it's really astonishing in what she's able to achieve with Duolingo's social media channel. And she was able to do it with a lot of the videos you could tell that's basically got no budget on. And I think obviously I'm not here trying to do a expert analysis on why their social media marketing was so successful, but I think just remembering that if you have a clear and a very genuine brand personality, and the content you put out resonates with your target audience, and the humor you use, all that, I think those are the factors that really determine whether the video or the overall marketing strategy can be effective or not. And again, I want to just reiterate that yeah, you don't necessarily need high production, expensive, high budgets to make video marketing work.
Last summer, I was interviewing a product manager from TikTok, and they were echoing everything that you were just saying. And the cool thing is they were coming from it from a perspective of data, where they were seeing the trending videos on their platform, and it wasn't the highly polished, highly produced, production value type videos. It was videos that looked like UGC, user generated content. It looked like somebody picked up their phone and filmed it. And maybe they did, like in the case of Duolingo, but and often it was still a produced video by a brand. They had a script, they had good lighting, they understood what they wanted to accomplish, and yet they still looked to have that UGC approach. The one example that I had seen was literally a guy in his garage who was showing how to use a product. I don't remember what the product was exactly, but after I dug into it a little bit more, I realized it's the brand. The brand created this. It looked like it was an influencer who just walked into his garage and decided to film this with his iPhone. It wasn't, but they were catering to that audience that can tell the difference between somebody who did it themselves versus the brand who's doing highly polished. They're paying for actors and a production crew and that sort of thing. So that was just to underscore that everything you just said is 100% right. Businesses should not be thinking they can't create video for social media because they don't have budget, because that's just not the case. And even more so today, I think, thanks to AI. So I'd love for you to share how you think AI really has fundamentally changed this industry, what's possible for video creation for businesses and marketers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, first of all, AI for me as a marketer, it makes everything I do so efficient. It's like having a buddy, a copywriter, a dedicated content marketer, and all that, right? Like my workflow is just 10 times more efficient. But when I get asked the question that what does it mean for video editing, I really think that one thing that sticks out to me the most is it really lowers the entry of barrier for people that have never thought they could get into content creation or video editing. And I think even though I guess as the industry as the industry as a whole, we are not quite there yet, but I think very soon, video editing could be just for anyone. And what I mean by that is, like we talked about earlier, how AI just makes everything so much more efficient. But at the same time, it really takes out the long and lengthy learning curve for people to get into video editing. So a personal example is I remember several years ago, before I even started working with Wondershare Filmora, I was really spending a lot of time on YouTube watching my favorite YouTubers. And because of that, it got me thinking, man, maybe one day I could start a channel and put out content that maybe will have people laugh. And so I played around with some desktop based video editing softwares, but it just after several tries and after several hours, I just felt, man, there's is so much to learn from filming, from production, post production, everything. If you really want to put something out that's of quality, that's something that people you think people would like. If if I didn't do this as a full time job, I really didn't think I could make it. So I think so fast forward a few years to today, I really see that with all the AI integrated video editors and tools, really anyone, as long as you have an idea, you have the drive to do it, you could do it. And for example, a couple features that comes to mind is like I remember after I produced the video, I looked at it as a whole, the coloring just looked really off. And I thought to myself, okay, I need to make this more pleasing to the eye. So I looked up videos on YouTube on how to do it, how to color, and then I go to the coloring tool, and there's just so many different options that I have to play around with. The saturation, the hues. I can play around with a couple things. Oh, it looks good. And then the next second I change something else, it looks good too. And then without the experience or the expertise, I really didn't know what I was doing or where to even stop. So, for example, in Filmora, there's a feature called the AI color palette, where it could literally take a video or from an image, the coloring, say, just from like your favorite movie, or you could put like an image that you really like the colors of, and it could literally replicate that in your own video and apply the same coloring, and all that's can be done is just within a couple clicks. So to me, as a someone that's inexperienced, that's like a lifesaver, and I'm sure it will be for many beginners like myself. So yeah, so when I get asked the question, what does AI mean for video editing or content creation? I think it means that anyone could do it.
I can relate so well to that. We were talking before we started about how I use a different software for my audio podcast editing and that sort of thing. And on the same lines, I'm not an audio engineer. I haven't studied it. I haven't gone to school for it. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to processing audio. And then the tool that I use, there's a button. I just click that button and it applies studio sound to the entire recording. I don't have to do anything. And I can see the exact same thing happening with your kind of a tool where I don't have to understand what the difference is between hue and saturation other than just playing with the knobs and seeing with my own eyes what happens, not really understanding it. There's tools that can help me with that. I'm wondering if you could walk us through an example where these kinds of AI tools are really applied to the video creation process and how it makes that more effective for businesses and marketers.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm thinking as a marketer and me being here on this show, perhaps I could take this video and post it on our own social media channels just so that our viewers could chime in and take a look at what's their thoughts on video creation and video for marketers, right? So what I could do is in that case, I'm gonna record our little conversation and our podcast today. And of course I can take the video as is, trim it, cut it a bit, and post it on YouTube. But of course, I also want to reach my followers on TikTok or Instagram where the short form content lives. So obviously, I have to trim down and extract the highlights. So obviously, my go to tool is Filmora. So I would open up Filmora. There is a newly released feature called the Smart Short Clips. So what it does is I can just put in lengthy footage, like our little conversation today, and it will actually extract highlights for me. It would give me several iterations of what it thinks is the highlight based on the audio interpretation as well as the visual movements. And then I can just pick out the one that I think works the best. Of course, it still allows for further customization if I need. So I start off with that. And then now I have some short clips and hopefully the highlights from our conversation today. And then who knows? Maybe I want to change the background. So I use AI portrait cutout. I cut myself out and then I replace the background behind me to something cool. Maybe whenever I talk about something, say, I don't know, I want to be on vacation, then I can put a moving scene of a beach behind me. And maybe during my post production, I found I don't like the having the plush on the couch. Then I can use a feature called AI Object Remover. I can simply brush over it, and it will be removed for the remainder of the video. What else? I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, so I like to have excellent sound quality as well as video quality, just like you, Mike. So I use a similar feature called AI Audio Enhancer. It just removes all the noise, all the hums that might be in the studio that I'm in. And I could use that color palette feature that I mentioned earlier to make the color of my video pop. And lastly, I think having captions really helps with short form content, just so that people know what I'm talking about, even if their audio is not on. So then I just use the speech to text feature and it will generate and transcribe literally everything that I'm saying. And last but not least, I have to post it on multiple different platforms, right? So I have to first convert this horizontal 16 by 9 video into 9 by 16. So I can use the auto reframe feature in Filmora, where it literally, in a horizontal format, it just extracts the vertical, the 9 by 16 portion, and it will actually follow the subject. If, let's say, I'm moving, it will interpret and follow the subject throughout the video so that it basically reformats it for me. And then I can actually use this new feature. I actually forgot the name. Please don't fire me for this. But Filmora allows you to post it on different platforms and schedule it at the same time. So I think that's a pretty cool video. Hopefully you can check it out when I post it on the Wondershare
Yeah.
Filmora channel.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic because again, I'm just relating this to personally. My process now is just so manual. The tool that I'm using for podcast editing, it does have that kind of a AI supposedly driven clip recognizer. And I've tried it a few times. I don't like it. It is not good at picking good clips. So I'm doing that manually. And I'm then exporting out those clips, those little smaller videos, and I'm importing them into my image and video editor and just creating the videos myself. So I'm putting a lot of extra work into that, which it sounds like if I was using Wondershare for more, I would not need to be doing, which sounds terrific. I love that. And you shared a bunch of features that people can think about if they're comparing to either the tool they're already using or maybe a different tool that they're considering. Anything else come to mind that you would think would be essential if somebody's considering a new video editor to bring into their tech stack?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, I've definitely covered lots of features, and if you think about all these features and how they come together as a whole, right? It really goes back to what I was saying. In I think these features were designed and added to Filmora to make that to further lower that entry of barrier for those that are just starting out or those that have little to next to no experience.
Yeah.
Aside from these features, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. I know people who use Filmora that are also more experienced, right? They could be professional video editors. So obviously, they don't necessarily need those features that's for people that don't know how to do coloring, where they could do it themselves. But they sometimes still use Filmora basically to save time. It's that efficiency bonus. And aside from that, I think a great tool or AI tool would be something that's to do with assets, something that's to do with building transitions, filters, templates. And what's really great is Filmora actually has this new AI tool that even if you don't like it from our the massive existing library of assets, you can find whatever you're looking for. There's a AI sticker feature and AI sticker feature where you could even prompt it to generate something that's exactly what you're looking for. So At the end of the day, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're a beginner, the features I mentioned would be great. Otherwise, if you're a pro, having that massive library of assets available will save you just so much time.
That's huge, Eric. I just want to underscore for everybody listening how important what Eric just talked to you about was, because if you're not familiar with video creation, if you haven't studied why the short form videos that go viral, one of the reasons is because of the editing. And it's not just that it's got 30 to 60 seconds of somebody talking. It's because in that 30 to 60 seconds, they intersplice frames of other things going on to keep your attention. So if I'm doing a short form video of myself, yes, it's maybe me talking for 60 seconds, or like when I share clips from this episode, it's going to be you talking, Eric, for 60 seconds. But if I wanted to do a great job, I would add some B roll, some other video interspersed. So if you're talking about somebody sitting in front of their computer doing the editing, right, I might actually intersperse somebody doing just that, which is nice from a visual perspective. Oh, okay, it's somebody sitting in front of their computer doing something. But that taps into human psychology in learning behavior, which is that if the scene changes, if the sound changes, something like that happens, it comes and grabs our attention again, where we all know, again, like we said at the outset, if I'm scrolling TikTok, it's not to learn, it's to be entertained. And if you aren't entertaining me within 3 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe 1.5 seconds, depending on what stat you're looking at, I might be starting to tune you out. I might be thinking about going to the next video and so on. So when we build in those changes that are unexpected, all of a sudden, it's not Eric talking anymore. You still hear him, but you see something else. Your brain is tricked into paying more attention. I love that tip. Thanks for sharing that. Folks, we're talking with Eric Liu about all the opportunities marketers and businesses have today when it comes to AI assisted video creation. And I've got several more questions that you aren't going to want to miss. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of AI for Business Leaders, the AI Hat podcast, is brought to you by Magi. Tired of juggling multiple AI subscriptions and trying to figure out which tool to use and when? Magi simplifies AI for businesses by offering access to all the leading language models and image and video generators for one low price. With Magi, you can create custom instructions to personalize AI for every business need and use them across all LLMs, including ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and even DeepSeek. No more building custom GPTs or gems that are limited to just one platform. Magi also lets you create customized workspaces for your entire team, giving everyone in your organization access to the same AI assistants and tools and prompts. Ready to streamline your AI workflow and empower your team? Tap the link in the show notes to visit Magi today to learn more. And now, back to the rest of today's episode. So, Eric, one of the common questions, even concerns that I think that comes up today with businesses and marketers who are thinking about how they could leverage AI, they're participating in these kinds of conversations, and they're hearing about all the ways that AI can just do stuff for them. It can automate tasks. It can bring a level of non-humanness and inauthenticity to our content, and they're afraid of that. How do you see that playing out when it comes to video creation, bringing that balance between the AI and the human in the loop?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a very important thing to talk about, and is yeah a trending topic for many, especially in this industry. I think from the perspective of again as a marketer, when I use AI for perhaps my content marketing, if I just simply type in and prompt AI for what I want, and I just use it as is, basically let AI even replace the ideation and the strategy aspects of my work, then it will definitely come off as lacking that authenticity and even the human touch. So I think same thing goes for using AI in video editing. It is at this point still mostly to make our editing process more efficient, specifically on the repetitive tasks or the tasks that usually takes a lot of manual work, takes up a lot of time. But you're now able to let AI do all that. But at the core of it, the strategy, the ideas, the scripting, the planning, I think all that still should be predominantly done by yourself. You could still use AI to help you to fine tune the ideas, but at the same time, there definitely needs to be more of a you in this aspect.
Fantastic. So we've got businesses, they're on board with this idea. They're shooting video. And by the way, I would highly recommend that you shoot interview style video like this, whether you're interviewing guests outside of your company or you're doing internal interviews and having somebody in the company interview you or vice versa, because it's such a powerful way to create long form video content that we can then splice up. And I'd love if you could talk a little bit more to this idea of splicing, repurposing content, how AI tools are making this even more effective today.
For sure. Actually, yeah, like we do, even though I haven't really been a guest for many of these podcasts or shows like this, but I've worked in behind the scenes for many episodes, seminars, similar podcasts for our company for various purposes and topics. When it comes to repurposing content, which we do very often because we would usually produce a long form video, again, shot in the horizontal format, then cater it to different social media channels, especially vertical content, as well as just extracting clips that would be effective for to be used as ads. So again, going back to some of the features that I have mentioned earlier, the smart short clips, where it could even extract up to 10 hours of lengthy footage. Let's say if you're a streamer streaming on Twitch and you want to extract the highlights from your everyday stream and post the highlights that people love on TikTok, then you could definitely use that feature just to get started and to save you the hassle of manually going through, imagine 10 hours of footage. And another thing is if you're someone that's creating content for perhaps audiences around the globe, which means they would speak different languages, using the AI translation tool in Filmora, even that even has a lip sync support. You could actually generate content that's, let's say, natively spoken in English into all over 20 different languages around the world. So that really speeds up the editing process and the post production work. It's as if you create one video and then you have 20 different ones for 20 different markets. Yeah, so and some of the other things that I've mentioned earlier, like I think the auto reframing is really effective because again, going from long form to short form, you really need to extract the highlights and the center of that horizontal footage. And if you do it manually, you have to use your mouse to keep following throughout the clip. But the auto reframing will detect the core subject and does the following and the interpretation for you. Yeah, so these are some of the tools that I personally use a lot if I need to make a quick video on the go to follow a trend. I can finish this video all by myself, especially thanks to these tools.
I'm glad you mentioned the use case of gamers or really any live streamer who's creating lengthy content. I know from experience, if you've got a video that's more than an hour or two long, just the sheer thought of trying to put that into an editor and sitting through it again and trying to pick out the clips, you're just not going to do it. So a tool like yours now becomes a difference of nothing's going to happen versus now all of a sudden we're going to have one, two, or a dozen fantastic clips as a result of the content. But I have to say, the translation feature that you just shared, that is huge. That's something I'm struggling with right now at Agorapulse, and as soon as we're done, no joke, I'm gonna have to sign up for a Filmora and use it at Agorapulse because not only do I have 4 podcasts at Agorapulse that are strictly English, I don't speak any other languages fluently. Don't even ask me to speak Cantonese because it's not gonna be pretty. And all of that content is English, even though we have French and German teams and markets who would love to use that language. And even more important than that, I interview customers. I'm the chief storyteller at Agorapulse. I interview our customers all the time to create success stories. And those are 100% in English. And we've tried some other tools, some other pretty well known AI tools that are just general AI, not necessarily video editing. And tried their translation and lip sync functionality. And frankly, our French and German teams have just laughed at it because the translations are not good. So I love that you brought that up. I can't wait to test that. and show them, hey, here's the tool that's going to give us some really fantastic translations. So thank you for sharing that. Everything we're talking about does come with a cost, not just the cost of the tool, but there is some time involved in doing all this kind of stuff, which means businesses thinking about this and listening to us right now, they should be thinking about ROI. They should be thinking about, okay, if I'm going to invest in a new tool, I'm going to invest some additional time. What could they expect to get out of that? What should their expectations be in terms of ROI?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a question I always have to answer whenever I propose video marketing ideas or campaigns that's built around video production. So I think as a marketer, it's very important to first clearly define what you're trying to achieve or what your KPIs and your key objectives are. For example, if I were to make a series of video that's meant to bring up the engagement on Instagram, then perhaps the content that I'm making needs to be geared towards encouraging people to leave comments or to share the video content I'm putting out there. And as a result, then my key metrics should be looking at those numbers, right? The shares, the comments. I wouldn't have to focus too much on whether this video is driving website traffic to my website or a landing page. But of course, if the objective is to say to be more performance based, let's say I want to drive downloads for Filmora, then the content I should be putting out obviously would be either maybe more urgent, time sensitive, maybe there's some sort of sale going on, or there's a very value driven feature that's encouraging folks to check out the landing page to download the product and to try it out immediately. Then of course I would be looking at the click through rate for, let's say, a click through rate of a link. Yeah, so I think it really depends on what the objectives are, and also clearly define what you're trying to achieve with your marketing video marketing efforts. And lastly, I think another thing is, of course, the cost of it. Sometimes video content, let's say if it's a big production, then it's very clearly defined exactly how much money you've spent. Then you can look at, oh, this video, if I use it as ads, how many views, how many click throughs I get. But sometimes it's not as clearly set as that because sometimes the content you put out has no budget. It's purely just takes up your team's time and effort. So then you can also measure it in terms of just, I guess, the human labor aspect. But however you kind of measure and to look at it, I think again goes back to setting the objectives clearly and looking at those key objectives and those metrics to measure the ROI and the success.
That is absolutely a smart approach. You can't just have this across the board perspective for anything. You need to think about each individual use case and plan accordingly. We're almost out of time, Eric, but I've got one more question for you. I'd love if you could share first if there are any specific trends and developments that you see coming with AI video, and second, because it's just you and I, nobody's really listening here. If you could share what's coming, if you with Filmora, are there any cool features coming that are on the roadmap that you'd be willing to share with us?
For sure. Mike, you know what? I think I definitely do have some good news that I'll just share with you privately. But I think, first of all, I'm very excited for the AI industry and AI in video editing as a whole, because if we look back just about a year or two ago, when AI generative content kind of just became a thing, right? I think when it first came out, the videos were just absurd. Like if you
Yeah.
prompt like a AI gen service to give me a video of someone eating a hot dog, like the hot dog might not even make it into the mouth of that person. Is that, I guess, terrible in terms of quality? People could tell right away that it's fake or AI. But fast forward to today, I think there are so many videos and examples on social media where videos are posted and people are questioning themselves, and the platforms often have to step in. I believe TikTok has this feature where it will warn you if it detects that this content could be AI generated for the viewer's discretion. So I think it's really crazy and exciting how far AI generative content has come, and I believe in the next year, I think that's just going to get even more even more real, maybe more hyper realism, and maybe more and more use in like films and movies. Because we know that a lot of the movie makers are already integrating AI into what they do. So I think it's only going to play a bigger and bigger part in their production cycle. And so here in Filmora, we see this trend and we know that AI generative features are only going to get better and better. So we've been working with a lot of the industry leaders to integrate their services and these AI gen capabilities into our platform. So currently, we already have AI image to video, video to video, and similar features like that. But I can only imagine that it's only going to get better and more real. And another thing is, which is like the sneak peek I like to give is, like I mentioned from the very beginning, right? Filmora, when it was created almost a decade ago, it was meant for people. We had a slogan, which is Filmora is here to empower your inner creator. We wanted to bring the creator aspect out of everyone, whether you have experience or no experience in video editing. So I think we're just getting even another step closer, which is having making the video editing process and completely removes the entry of barrier for users. So right now we already have our first iteration towards this goal, which is called the AI Copilot. So that's a feature that's been implemented about a year or two ago, where you can literally talk to it as if it's your personal video editor helper, and it will tell you, let's say if you want to ask the Copilot to make your video a little bit brighter, you can just prompt it and it will do it for you. And if it's something that I cannot do it independently by itself, you can ask a video editor related question, and it will give you the answers to it. But next year and in the very near future, I think Filmora we're trying to basically take another big step towards that direction where this co-pilot would become even more intelligent, even more capable. So if you don't know how to do certain things, don't know how to color, don't know how to add transitions, don't know how to mask even some even more complex editing skills, it can either do it for you or tell you how to do it. So you don't need to necessarily look up tutorials online. You don't need to ask people. You don't need to call up your next door neighbor who maybe more of an expert, you could do it right within Filmora. So that's something that I'm very excited about, and I can't wait to see it happen.
Well, I couldn't agree more about where AI video has been and where it's headed. Ethan Mollick, a lot of you guys know, is a fantastic thought leader in the AI space, professor at the Wharton School. He'd been doing this kind of a thought experiment, really, where he was consistently asking AI video editors to create a scene with an otter in a unicorn inflatable in a pool or something like that, and it was the same scene, the same prompt, and it kept getting better and better and better to the point now with some of the current AI tools, the video that it can create is so realistic. He's decided he's going to have to come up with a new bar to test against because he can have it on an airplane, opening up a laptop, using the Wi-Fi, different things, and it's obviously, an otter can't do that, but if it could, it would look like that. So that's awesome, and I love the sneak peek into what Phil Moore's got coming. We'll have to have you back in a couple of months to talk about that, maybe do a full demo of the tool because I know folks are going to want to know more. So on that note, if they don't wanna wait to come back, where can they go to learn more about Filmora, learn more about you if they've got questions and they wanna keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd love to get to know other marketers in the industry or anyone that has any other thoughts about the topics that we've spoken today. So definitely feel free to connect and discuss with me on LinkedIn. And if you love to get to know about Filmora or just try it out today, you can actually get started for free. Filmora does have a free version as well as a paid version for those that require more advanced features or functions. And you can simply look up Filmora or go to filmora.wondershare.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. Thank you all of you for listening. Of course, we'll have all the links in the show notes below. But remember, if this is your first foray in the world of AI and business, I've got the perfect resource for you in the show notes below. The AI primer designed to quickly get you up to speed on terms, tactics, and the underlying technology that's powering this AI revolution. Check it out, and I'll see you in our next episode. Welcome to the grid. That's a wrap on another episode of the AI Hat Podcast. I hope you gained some valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your business with AI. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget to visit theaihat.com for more resources and to connect with me. Until next time, keep innovating and remember, the future of business is human and it's powered by AI.